What's up, guys? Jonathan here to talk about the first week of the upcoming college football season, 2011. This is my first video, so bear with me a little bit. I will have one every week, and I would love to hear your opinion on it. I would love to see your comments. If you want me to emphasize a little more on a team that you don't think I'm talking about enough, or if it's just your favorite team, I'll probably make a personal video for you. That's no problem. If you think I'm emphasizing on a team too much that I keep talking about unconsciously, comment on it. I love to hear all your opinions. I don't mind critical comments. Those really do help. Honestly, they do. Now Thursday night is all I'm going to be talking about tonight. I'll make another video Friday for the Saturday games, and probably before all the games to talk about the ones on Friday. Now the one game everybody's talking about is for Thursday night is UNLV at Wisconsin. That will not be a bad game. Wisconsin is a good team, but UNLV is not a pushover team. They will not roll over too lightly. I'll focus on that, and the two other games I'll probably focus on pretty heavily are Mississippi State and Memphis, and Wake Forest and Syracuse. Now, UNLV and Wisconsin, I'm going to start off with them because a lot of people are talking about it. Wisconsin had a very good offense last year. A lot was thanks to their quarterback, Scott Tolzien. He had 2,400 passing yards and a completion percentage of 72. That's relatively good. And their rushing leaders were James White and John Clay. John Clay, of course, was the big name. James White wasn't as big. John Clay had just over 1,000, and James White had 1,052. Both of them averaged over 5 yards a carry, which is really good. John Clay is gone, but don't fret. It's not that big of a deal. And their quarterback situation with Scott Tolzien, yes, he's gone, but really, do you need to worry too much when they just brought in a brand new quarterback by the name of Russell Wilson? I'm sure all of you have heard about it. It was probably one of the biggest headlines over the summer. Russell Wilson is a playmaker all over the field. He will hurt you with his legs, and he will hurt you with his arm. Everybody talks about how good of a runner he is, but his passing is very, very good. He is a really good player. He last season when he played for NC State, he passed for 3,500 yards. That's really good. His completion percentage was only a 58, but when you have legs like that, you can run all over the field. I don't think you have to focus on your arm too much. Either way, when you're in a third down and short, trust me, he will find a way to make the play. There's lots of things you can talk about with Wisconsin. I think they're going to come out with a win just because they have a new quarterback and they're at home and they're going to be filled with intensity. The crowd's going to be going crazy. The Wisconsin fans are great fans. I watch a lot of their games. I was a big John Clay fan. Oh, John Clay. And so Wisconsin, I'm sorry to all UNLV fans. I just think Wisconsin's going to come out with a win. My prediction for it is actually 35-14. I think UNLV will put up a good fight the first half, but I think Wisconsin comes out second half just roaring with intensity. I think that they just take it away in the second half. And the second game I will be talking about is Mississippi State and Memphis. Now, Mississippi State and Memphis is going to be a good game in my own opinion. They had a very solid year last year. It's the best year they've had in a while, and I think that Dan Mullen is doing an awesome job. He's just completely turned that program around. I think they're actually going to be a 10-win season this year. I think they're going to compete for the SEC West Championship, and there's a very good possible chance they will go to the SEC Championship in Atlanta. That is not out of the question. Their passing game last year was kind of slacked off. Chris Relf only had a little over 1,700 passing yards with a 58% completion percent, and he had 6 picks and only 13 touchdowns. I think that he will improve this year. I think they have worked on his arm very, very much over the summer. Now their running game is what is very, very good. Vic Ballard had over 950 yards with 19 touchdowns. That's very good for a running back. And Chris Relf himself had 713 yards. So even though Chris Relf wasn't the best passer, he does know how to run it. Even the lower backups, Ladarius Perkins had 566 and Robert Elliott had 221. So even all the way down to their fourth string running back, they are pretty good. Even their receivers, Chad Bumpus, very good receiver, had 19 carries for 130 yards. That's pretty good for a receiver. And their receiving core is very, very good. Chad Bumpus once again had 44 receptions for over 600 yards. Let's see, Brandon Havens had 22 receptions for 316 yards. So Mississippi State is not low on receivers, running backs, and I think their quarterback situation will do very well. Now Memphis, nobody talks about them a lot, but I think that they actually have a very good offense. Their quarterback Ryan Williams had a little over 2,000 passing yards, and he had 13 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. That's not too great. But both of their running backs, Gregory Ray and Gerald Rhodes, very, very good running backs. Gregory Ray had 157 carries for almost 700 yards, and Gerald Rhodes had 116 for almost 500 yards. So either way, their offense is not low. They will put up a fight. They will not go down. Their receiving core is pretty much what was key last year. Marcus Rucker had 41 receptions for 704 yards and 8 touchdowns. Okay, now the most their running backs had was only 3 touchdowns. And all their receivers together had 14 touchdowns. So, and their other receiver, Jermaine McKenzie, had 25 receptions for 409 yards and 3 touchdowns. So, they're not low on offense. I still think Mississippi State comes out with a win. I think Dan Mullen comes out with his team running out the gate. I think in the first quarter they take a 14-7 lead, and in the second quarter Memphis comes back to tie it. In the third quarter, make it 14-7. But I still think Mississippi State wins it 28-14. That's my prediction for that game. So the next game I will be talking about is Syracuse and Wake Forest. Now Syracuse and Wake Forest, that's also going to be a good game as well. I'm going to start off with Syracuse. They had a productive passing game last year. Ryan Nazib was 202 completions out of 358 attempts for 234 yards. He had 19 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That's not a bad ratio. They got their starting running back, Delone Carter, had 230 carries for over 1,200 yards last year. Very, very good with 9 touchdowns. And they got a lot of their receiving core back. Van Crew had 41 receptions for 611 yards. Marcus Sales, 26 receptions for 414. Van had 5 touchdowns and Marcus had 4. Their defense is very good. But Syracuse also has a good offense. Wake Forest has a good offense as well. Their starting quarterback had 137 completions out of 241 for 1,300 yards with 7 touchdowns. And their top rusher, Josh Harris, 125 carries for 720 yards, 7 touchdowns. That's a good number. They don't have a lot of their receivers coming back, but they got enough. They got enough that they're going to be all right. Honestly, at their offensive production from last year coming over to this year, they have a lot of people coming back. I just don't think that they have enough firepower to keep up with Syracuse. Syracuse has an explosive offense. If you ever watched their games last year, their defense was relatively well. They played very solid, coached very well. I'm not saying Wake Forest is not coached well. I just don't think that they have the firepower to keep up with Syracuse. If you have a different opinion, or if you want to make your own prediction for this game for Thursday night, comment on it. This is just my opinion. I think Syracuse is going to win it 28-7. That's just a prediction. I think Syracuse, in my own opinion, is about a 7 or 8 win team this year. Wake Forest is probably about a 6. There's lots of games that Syracuse I think can win, and I think that they'll probably just get blown out. One of the games that I think they're going to win, of course, just said it, is Wake Forest. Another game that I think they'll win is I think they will honestly put up a decent fight against Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I think some of the games they lose close. I think West Virginia and South Florida. Connecticut, that's a toss up. I'm not sure about that game. That's just going to be a heat of the moment game. I think they come out beating Toledo, Rutgers, and Tulane. I think they get smashed by USC. And the whole USC thing, with their coach and all the stuff that Pete Carroll left when he went to the NFL, it's still there, and some things are chasing their current coach from Tennessee. But I think they'll be all right, even though they have a bowl ban. I don't think that's going to affect how they play at all. I think they're going to come out there and they're going to have a very good season as well. And I've said my prediction for this game and my prediction for the other 2 games on this video. So if you have any comments, or if you want me to emphasize a game that's on this Saturday or this Friday, please comment on it. And if you think I emphasize too much on one thing, or if you don't think I talked enough about one thing, please tell me. I love to hear all your comments. Thank you, and enjoy the games Thursday.